we want to do the Sh'ur B'ezrat Hashem for Mr. Isaac Levy's wife. He hasn't been with us a whole week, which you guys even feel the difference. The davening is not the same. There's like no, no leadership in a way. His wife's name is Chana Bat Miriam, also from my grandmother, Burcho Bat Sarah. And for everybody else, Rabotai, who needs a refuah shalem. Also, we have, this week is coming up, the 30 days for the Yusupov brothers is today. It's coming up the 30 days for your father, Daniel HaKohen Ben Yafa Yusupov. Bezrat Hashem, Ilu Nishmat. The Yalkut Yosef brings down over here, up to how much does a person have to honor his parents? Ad heichan kibud av ve'em. Up to how much does one have to honor his mother and his father? Afilu notlo kishal arnak shalaben. Even if your father takes your gold wallet, say you make a nice wallet out of gold, and your father takes it, v'yishlichu lo yam b'fanav. He takes it and he throws it into the ocean right in front of your face. What are you supposed to do, Arturo Jones? Right now, $50,000 went down the drain. Or no, he just stopped me. He says, "Let me see your watch. You're wearing a what's that? AP? APP? PP? What's that? PP? AP. He takes it, you gold, whatever you guys wear, or rose, whatever. He takes it, he says, let me see it, son. Just let me see it and let me look at it. And before you know, he swings it into the ocean. What do you have to do, Ram?
Thank you, Shai.
Gamzu L'tova. It would be nice if we say Gamzu L'tova and our wives scream at us. Gamzu L'tova. All of this, mujik today. Rabotai, he says, "V'yishlichu layam b'fanav," and if he throws it into the ocean in front of you, lo yachlemem, you're not allowed to embarrass your father. V'lo yitzak b'fnem, you're not allowed to scream in front of them. V'lo yichos kinektim, you can't even get angry with them.
Jump in the ocean and find it.
He ain't gonna jump in nowhere, believe me. Eila Rabotai, rather yikabel gizerat katuv, rather you have to accept that this is what Hashem wanted. V'yishtok, and be quiet. V'yir'eh mimelech malchem lachem HaKadosh Baruch Hu shitzivahu b'kach. You should see to that as the King of Kings, may he be blessed, that he is the one that commanded your father to take your gold wallet and to throw it into the ocean, but you have no right what to say back to your father. Is that normal, Rabotai? Do you know, Rabotai, why this halach is very hard for us to do? Ani Simjon, do you know why it's very hard for us to do? Because we don't understand what parents are. I'll say it all the time. We don't know what we have. Until Chas V'Shalom Lolin, you lose them, you don't know what you have. Aval, however, Rabotai, let's say, Aval, im bikshu memenet aranak. What happens if your father asks you, give me your wallet, and you have $10,000 or $5,000, whatever you have, right? If your father asks you, give me your wallet, but you know he's going to throw it to the ocean. The son is able to refuse to give the father the wallet. I do not have to chas v'shalom give it to you in order for you to do it dafka. But if he took it without you even having any idea, your father is normal, everything was fine, and he throws it, that's when we're going to tell you, you have to be quiet, whether it's your father, whether it's your mother, and you're not allowed to embarrass them. Rabotai, that was the halakha for Kibbud Av V'em of how careful we have to be about honoring one's parents. Rabotai, you know the real problem over here is, as we learn these halachot, a lot of times you see a child, even when the father and mother are speaking, the child corrects them. A child is never allowed to correct the parents no matter what, unless the father tells them openly. But in front of people, even if the father's 1,000,000% wrong, you're not allowed to correct your parents. Rabotai, we have to have, our parents have to be in our eyes like this. When was the last time you went to a CEO of your business, of your company, and told him what to do? Well, when was the last time you went and you told him? Never. You're afraid to open your mouth because you're afraid you're going to lose your job. Rabotai, these people did not give you money. These people gave you life. And if anything, they spend money on you to upkeep you. That's what we call maintenance today. Huh? No? For 2 minutes, husband and wife, right? What does the pasuk say? The husband and the wife are together. He turns around, she turns around. Who takes care of the baby? Hashem. Now he has to see everything, that everything fertilizes the eyes, the heart. For 2 minutes, Rabotai, a person goes ahead and he has a maintenance of a lifetime for children. That's why a person, Rabotai, when a person at the time of the act, he has to be very holy, he has to do proper things, cannot think about anything else, because you want the children to be good, so the maintenance can be easy and not chas v'shalom hard, where the children give us problems. And a lot of it, Rabotai, will come chas v'shalom. It's only when the parents, for example, especially the first night of the wedding, if they go do mixed seating, mixed dancing, all these things, they go do it. If they get a child from that conception, where the husband, Lo'oleni, was thinking about other children, about other women, because that's what he sees, Rabotai, you should know if a child is formed from another, because the guy was thinking about another woman, you should know this child is going to be rebellious. Because at that act, at that time, you only have to think about your wife and nobody else and nothing else. Nothing can be in your mind. This is why we want everything separate, because we want the wife to think about the husband and we want the husband to think about the wife. You know, my father, with his permission, he told me one time a joke. If I could recall it correctly, there was a guy, he was married to a girl. So they had a baby. What color baby was it? It was a black baby. So the husband goes to the wife and he says, why is the baby black? And I don't understand it. It's still not 9 months. How did you have this child so quick? So the wife goes, well, what do you mean? You remember when we started dating 3 months before? You remember? And then 3 months after marriage? You remember? 3 times 3 is 9, no? So the husband goes, that's very smart. He's like, do you remember as we were driving down the road, there was a black cat that passed by me? So I was thinking about the child. That's why we have a black child. So the husband goes, wow, it's unbelievable. Wow, we have a black baby boy. Now I see why. Everything makes sense. Right? So he goes, he tries to give the news to his parents. He goes to his father, he says, Papa, I have a baby. Papa says, I don't get it. There's still 9 months didn't pass. How does your wife have a baby? But not only that, Papa, and the child is black. He's like, how do you have a black baby? He's like, I'll tell you, Papa. 3 months before I was dating my wife, and 3 months after I was dating my wife, that's 3 times 3 is 9. Okay, but how did you get a black child? He's like, when we were driving to the hospital, she said that there was a black cat that passed, and I was looking at the cat, and that's what the child is black, you hear? So the father looks to his wife and говорит, ты случайно хамору не видела на дороге, когда мы ехали в больницу? You understand the donkey, right? You did by accident. You didn't see no donkey passing by the Rabotai. Rabotai, this is it. Huh? I'm saying no. It plays a big role, but over here, this guy was a shotin station. Okay. In any event, Rabotai. Rabotai, in Pirkei Avot, I want to show you over here something very beautiful. What is the most healthiest ingredient of life? And this is what we have to teach ourselves, our wives, our children, Rabotai, because over here in America, people don't realize silence is something which is very powerful. Person who likes to always have the last word, he could get himself killed. Rabotai, before I was religious, you don't know. Anybody who would open their mouth, I don't know if they would be alive after. If they would end up into a fight, you would have 2 people go one-on-one. Hello, yati. If the guy had a gun, you were done. But the people that were quiet, that would want to back off, at least they stayed alive. How they say, it's better to be a mice, but be alive, than to be a lion and be dead. Rabotai, you don't always have to have the last word. People feel that we have to get the last word. I have to say the last thing. Rabotai, listen to this. When I started this Pirkei Avot, and this is what we've been speaking about the whole time, that a husband, wife, child, doesn't matter who you are, Rabotai, there's a thing that's called silence. A person has to keep his mouth closed. Look what he says. Shimon ben Omer, Shimon, who was Rabbi Gamliel's son, he says, Kol yomai geldalti ben hachachamim, all my days that I was raised amongst the chachamim, v'lo matati liguf tov ela shtika, I never found for my body which is good, rather anything but silence. Artur, do you know what I'm saying? You have a rabbi that is grown amongst the biggest Talmidei Chachamim. He saw all the biggest rabbis in his life, from a young boy until he became a Tan, until they made him president. He says, all my life that I was raised amongst these rabbis, I found one thing that's good for my body. And what is that? Quiet, silence. or Torah, tell me midot, tikkun chatzot, mikvah, silence. That's what you find. Rabotai, because as the saying goes, as long as you're silent, you have control over the words. Once the words come out of your mouth, they have control over you. That's what Rabotai, he says over here in the Bi'urei Mishnah. What does this mean, Rabotai? Shimon ben Oshar Ram Gamliel Omer. Shimon, the son of Ram Gamliel, used to say, Kol yamai gedalti ben hachamim, all the days that I was raised amongst the rabbis, v'itbonanti behem v'ra'iti et kol midot hatovot, and I contemplated and I saw all their midot, all the character traits. V'lo matati liguf tov, I didn't find something good for the body. Mikol midot haim lo matati midat tova, o davar tov shiyu'ilu l'adam. From everything that while I was amongst them, I didn't find nothing good for the body, or nothing good that's going to help a person. But what did I find? Eila hashtika. I found silence. I silenced silence, Rabotai. What does that mean? Shomer cherpato v'shotek, Rabotai. And when a person hears somebody if he's being insulted, if he hears that somebody's insulting him, and he's quiet, or lomar et da'atav berabim, or Rabotai, he minimizes giving his opinion in public. Why? Because like Shlomo Melech says in Mishlei, in Perek Yuzayin Pasuk Chavchet, Gam ivel machrish hacham michashav. Rabotai, even if a fool will keep silent, people will think he's a chacham, people will think he's smart. V'chel hefek, and so to the other way around, Rabotai. Hamarbe devarim, but somebody who speaks a lot, afilu hu chacham, even if he's a big rabbi, he's very wise. Le'eveli chashav, they're going to think he's a fool. Rabotai, that's what he says in Masechet Pesachim Daf Tzaddik Tet Amud Aleph. Yafeh shtika lechachamim. Beautiful is being quiet, being silent when it comes to rabbis. Kal v'chomer litipshim v'miljon. How much more so for people that are fools? But today, listen to this carefully. I'm speaking about over here Shimon HaTzadik, Rabotai. He guarded his mouth. I find something good for the body, which is silence. We say, Rabotai, we don't have no midot, we have no Torah, and somehow we always speak the most. Rabotai, that's why we have to know how to muzzle our mouths. We have to be, even animals today, they don't have speech, they don't bark if they don't have to. They don't do something that they don't have to, Rabotai. But we're worse than animals because we're always barking and we don't even know what we're saying. Rabotai, where do we see this, Rabotai? If we look into Masechet Chulin, and Daf Peiter Amud Aleph, what should be a person's profession in this world? A doctor, lawyer. What should be a person's profession in this world? You want to live a healthy, long life. What should you be your profession? Amr Rabbi Yitzchak said, "My dichtiv ha'emanam ilam tzedek tedebru misharim tishmatu b'nei adam. Ma emunato shel adam be'olam hazeh." What should be one's profession in this world? Yasim atzmo ki ilem. A person has to make himself like a deaf mute. He doesn't hear anything. He doesn't say anything, Rabotai. This is the real professional. Let me see a person being able to do this, to close his mouth, Rabotai. And this is why you have all these problems, because people cannot close their mouth. Children like to answer back. Wives like to answer back. Husbands like to answer back. Why do you feel you have to have the last word? And if you don't have the last word, you're going to die. Rabotai, I want to tell you this. From silence, nobody dies. From speaking, a lot of people die. He continues and he says, Av l'divrei Torah, you would have thought even for words of Torah you shouldn't speak a lot. Ta'amud lomer tzedek tidabru, you should speak righteous. You're allowed to speak when it comes to Torah. You should speak a lot. Yachol yagiz dato, a person would think that maybe when a person is learning Torah, he's allowed to be holy, he's allowed to be pride. Ta'amud lomer no misharim tishpot. Hashem is going to judge everybody equally. You're not allowed to have gava even when you're learning Torah. Rabotai, I want to just conclude over here with this story over here. How does one come to silence? How does one come to realize that he doesn't have to answer back to every little thing? How? Rabotai, you should know when a person goes ahead and he answers, it just shows you how much gava they have. A person has to realize that. So he said you're nobody. Okay, so why he's Hashem? Oh, your mother-in-law said she did it. I didn't do it. What? They're God. Oh, so she said. Now the whole world has to end over here. Rabotai, listen to this carefully. Hamidrash Shmuel explains, he doesn't understand what does it mean, the Tana, this Tana that he became so great, Shimon, below, right, of Rabbi Gamliel, he became so great, he was a president. What does it mean, Kol Yomai Gedalti ben Hachamim? Nison Joe, what does it mean, all my days I was raised amongst the Chachamim? Do you know who you are today? You are over here today. What are you remembering what happened to you in the past? Today you have people that are nobody, and you make them somebody Artur, where's your recognition where you're coming from, Rabotai? Where's your recognition? You forgot where you're coming from. You're forgetting where you're going to go in the future. He says over here, what is it Midrash Shmuel explains? Rabotai, listen to this carefully. Sheba hatanu lashme'enu, comes a Tana to teach us, sha'afilu kishinitmana nasi, even when Shimon was appointed as Nasi, as president, kol yamav hiktin atzmo b'fri hachamim ki'ilu hu hakatan shebikulam. All the days, Rab, he went ahead and he made himself small before all the rabbis as if he was the smallest. He was not the smallest, but as if he was the smallest. וגדלתי הוא כקטן מגדל על ברכיכם כי יודע שמגדל הוא הגדול והנגדל עמו הוא הקטן והיה מראה לחכמים כאילו הוא טפל להם. רבותיי, what means וגדלתי? What means I was raised? Because when you're raised, when you speak that I was raised by them, you make them bigger than you and you make yourself smaller, Rebotai. That's what he said. I was trying to always, all my life. Why did he use that language, Gadalti? I was trying to show them that they're much more important. I'm not. They're primary. I'm secondary. Rabotai, Shimon, the tzaddik is teaching you a very big fundamental life principle. When you are able to look at your wife that she's greater, you're able to look at your neighbor that they're greater, you're able to look at your friends that they're greater. How do you maybe have midot that you don't even have? Maybe they're much bigger than you. When you're able to make yourself a little bit lower than them, then you can be able to keep your mouth quiet. But Artur John, but if you think you're always better than them, just because you're driving a Rolls Royce and they're driving a Hyundai, if that's the case, then you always feel that you're going to speak, and that you should know for every single word that you say to a person, that you heard the person, it's called honor devarim, which is asur deoraita rabotai, to cause somebody else, to cause another Jew pain. Just on the Erev Shabbat, we learned rabotai just really quick, right? Hashem is going to bring everything to what's hidden to judgment. So the Chazal asked, in Masechet Chagiga, Gindin, Chazal asked, what do you mean you're going to bring everything to judgment? Even when a person walks in the street, rabotai, and he spat over here, and he continued for 20 years walking there, every single Jew that came, or even a goy that came and got disgusted, that person that spat and he made somebody else feel disgusted, he will be held responsible forever. That's why you have to clean it up. Or if somebody, we said, killed a cockroach in front of another person and he felt disgusted, if the person becomes disgusted about that, he will be held accountable. Rab, so we see from over here, it's not only our actions that we have to be careful with when it comes to people, but also our words, Rabotai. When a Jew is able to live life like that, with being careful with his actions and thoughts and speech, Rabotai, whenever you do whatever you do, automatically what are you doing? You're living a life of Kiddush Hashem, of sanctifying Hashem's name. Thank you, Nisim John. Nisim David of Rabotai showed me this. Very good. Chavetz Chag. I'm going to show it. Why not? Here. Rabotai says like this. The tongue has no bones, but is strong enough to break a heart. Be careful with your words. So basically, you just summarized my whole shiur, right? And anyway, the Rabotai, Bezrat Hashem, may Hashem give us the strength to be able to break ourselves, to be able to make Hashem's name great. And because that's the only reason why we're here in Miljon in this world, is to bring honor to Hashem and not to bring honor to our lowly lives, Rabotai. Because in the end, Nisim John, you know who's going to be with us? Worms and maggots. There's nothing what to be prideful. Believe me, in under 6 feet under, there's no wife, there's no children. The only thing you take with you, Rab, is mitzvot and Torah. Baruch Adonai Olam. Amen. Amen. Rabbi Chaim Igal, Baruch Hu. Lezakot et Israel leficha. Here,